Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh, and a very good day to whom it may concern. Alhamdulillah, we meet again in this video today. I hope you and your family had a wonderful, happy and healthy day every day. This video is made to continue our lecture on the subject MEC 451 Thermodynamics. Please note that this video is best viewed with reference to the lecture note provided. Also, please note that this subject is for UITM student for the program of EM220, Bachelor of Engineering Honors Mechanical, and also the program of EM221, Bachelor of Mechanical Engineering Manufacturing Honors. However, I do welcome everyone who would like to watch this video to learn something about the thermodynamic that could benefit your general knowledge. This is a lecture on chapter 6, the thermal power plant. Basically, for this chapter, we will divide it into two main parts, which is the gas turbine engine and also the steam turbine engine. So this is basically the first part of this chapter, which is focused on the gas turbine engine. I hope that this video will benefit your academic grades as well as your daily life dealing with the thermodynamic system. The outline of this chapter is presented in this slide. Basically, we have two main parts for this chapter, which are the gas turbine engine and the steam turbine engine. For the gas turbine engine, so first one, we will learn about the Brayton cycle. Basically, the Brayton cycle is just the ideal cycle for the gas turbine engine. Then we followed the actual cycle for the gas turbine engine, which is the deviation of actual Brayton cycle from idealized one. After that, we will learn how to impose the regeneration into the gas turbine engine. And finally, we will put the intercooling, reheating and regeneration on the gas turbine engine. So basically for the gas turbine engine, we have four main stages. The first one is ideal, the second one is actual, the third one is regeneration, the fourth one is intercooling, reheating and regeneration. Okay, that is for the gas turbine engine. So the second part of this chapter, basically we will focus about the steam turbine engine. So basically the steam turbine engine, first one we will learn about the Rankine cycle, which is the ideal cycle for the vapor power cycle. Okay, then after the ideal cycle, we will learn about the deviation of actual Rankine cycle from the idealized one. Then we will learn a little bit about how to increase the efficiency of the Rankine cycle. Then we also will put the reheating on the Rankine cycle. Finally, this chapter will finish on the steam turbine engine by studying the regenerative Rankine cycle, which is the open feed water heater as well as the closed feed water heater. So that's all what we call the content for chapter 6. However, for the purpose on this video, we will learn about the first part only, which is the gas turbine engine. Okay, let us cover the first type of the engine in this topic, which is the gas turbine engine. Let us start this chapter by introduction to the power plant. Basically, a power station is just a power plant in which heat energy is converted into the electric power. What is mean is the heat energy is converted by using the heat engine to produce the kinetic energy in the form of the rotating crankshaft, which is similar to the petrol engine or the diesel engine. This kinetic energy is then coupled with the generator and will produce the electricity. Most of the power station contain one or more generators, which is a rotating machine that convert mechanical power into the electrical power. You may refer to the subject of electric power to learn about the generator. Finally, this electricity is supplied to the user, either domestic or industrial users. In general, there are many types of power plant available in this world. Okay, the type of power plant that normally is categorized based on their working fluid that is used to convert the heat energy into the kinetic energy. So in general, there are several types of the power plant. The first one, we have the gas turbine power plant. Basically, for the gas turbine power plant, we use gas as the working fluid. The second one, we have steam power plant. Obviously, when it's named as steam turbine power plant, the working fluid changing phase from liquid to vapor. Next, we do have the nuclear power plant. So we will use the energy available from the nuclear. Basically, this is quite dangerous power plant, which is if something bad happen, it will produce the radiation that will cause catastrophic failure to the world. So next we have hydroelectric power plant. So we do have many hydroelectric power plant in our country. So basically, hydroelectric power plant use the energy available from falling water, or sometimes we will use dam to produce the electricity. That is basically the hydroelectric power plant. So in our country, hydroelectric power plant will serve two purposes. The first one, it will produce the electrical energy, and the second one, it will supply the water to the domestic and also industrial users. Okay, we also have what we call the solar power plant. So when we talk about solar, the energy is available from the sun. Okay, next we do have the geothermal power plant. So in Malaysia, we don't have any geothermal power plant yet. So basically, geothermal power plant, it take the energy available in the earth's crust. And then we have tidal power plant. This is about the sea wave. Okay, so energy is available from the tide. So the motion of the wave of the sea, so we'll create what we call the kinetic energy, and that kinetic energy will rotate the blade. And finally, the most what we call emerging power plant in this world nowadays is basically wind power plant, which is the wind power plant. We take the energy available from the wind turbine. However, for this subject, MEC 451, we only cover two power plant only, which is the first one is the gas power plant, and the second one is the steam power plant. So the other power plant we will cover in the next subject, also in the special topic, which is the renewable energy. Actually, the gas turbine engine has two purposes. The gas turbine engine used for the power production and also used for the generating thrust for the jet propulsion. That's why if you have seen the airplane, the engine is placed at its wings. That is the gas turbine engine. It is used to fly the airplane based on the thrust produced, as well as generating the electricity for the usage in the cabin, since it is not practical to take the electricity from the terminal by using cable while the airplane is flying. For this subject, we only cover the second purpose of the gas turbine engine, which is the power to generate the electricity. The gas turbine engine basically have a very great power to weight ratio as compared to the reciprocating engine. In example, for the smaller than their reciprocating counterpart of the same power do. What is mean here is, if the reciprocating engine, either petrol or diesel engine that we have learned in chapter 5, is designed to produce, let's say, 100 kilowatt of power, the size of the petrol or diesel engine is much bigger and heavier than the gas turbine engine that is designed to produce similar power output. When we calculate the network output, where it is a gross power minus all of the losses, and considering that the weight is also a losses, then since the gas turbine engine is much lighter than the petrol or diesel engine, thus the net power output from the gas turbine engine is higher than the one of the reciprocating engine. That is meant by the power to weight ratio. However, the main disadvantage of the gas turbine engine compared to a reciprocating engine of the similar size is they are very much expensive. The gas turbine engine are expensive because the component of the engine need to spin at much high speed than the reciprocating engine. Also, the high operating temperature of the gas turbine engine is much higher than the reciprocating engine. Because of these two factors, the designing and manufacturing of the gas turbine engine is very tough problem from both the engineering and material standpoint. Obviously, the operating temperature of the gas turbine engine is very high, and then it needs to use the material that could withstand such high temperature. Normally, that kind of the material is very expensive. You may refer to the subject of the mechanic of material to find out the material that could withstand the high temperature. Another disadvantage of the gas turbine engine is it is also tend to use more fuel when they are idling, and they prefer a constant rather than a fluctuating load. What is meant by the idling condition is if we just start the gas turbine engine and just let it run without loading, like we just start our car to warm it up. This condition is called the idling condition, and at this idling condition, the gas turbine engine would consume higher rate of the fuel. The meaning of the fluctuating load is if we ram the car, or in another word, we press and release the throttle of our car or motorcycle like vroom, vroom, vroom. So the gas turbine engine could not do that. If we have traveled by airplane, the captain never rammed the airplane. That is the disadvantage of the gas turbine engine. The figure on the left-hand side on this slide is illustrate a typical gas turbine engine that being used for the airplane as well as the power plant. Actually, they are similar because of they share the similar purposes. So the similar purpose that can be used for airplane and power station. The figure on the right-hand side is illustrate the schematic diagram of the typical gas turbine engine where they are labeled as intake, compression, combustion, as well as the exhaust. Basically, all engines have to complete all four processes of the power cycle, which are intake, compression, combustion, and exhaust. This power cycle basically is very similar to the reciprocating engine of the petrol and diesel engine. The main difference is only the arrangement of the power cycle sequences. In the case of the reciprocating engine, the sequence of the power cycle is based on the engine stroke. That is the moving of the piston cylinder device from top dead center to the bottom dead center inside the engine cylinder. What is mean here is all of the processes of the power cycle, including intake, compression, power, and exhaust, were performed by piston cylinder device. In another word, the piston cylinder device is used to perform all of the processes of the power cycle while piston moving from top dead center to the bottom dead center and vice versa. For this gas turbine engine, the sequence of the power cycle is basically arranged in line, or in another word, one by one. That means it is used different components to perform the different processes of the power cycle. Okay, the first one, for the intake process, the gas turbine engine is only used the for the intake process, the gas turbine engine is only used the opening of it. For the compression process, the compressor is used. The third process is the combustion, where for the gas turbine engine, it will use the combustion chamber. And finally, for the power produced, the turbine is used before the burn gas is expelled to the surrounding. So that at one instant, all of the power cycle processes were performed. This will give much faster power production than the reciprocating engine. This is what we call just the general explanation about the gas turbine engine as compared to the reciprocating engine. Okay, now let us study about the working principle of the gas turbine engine in detail. Actually, the gas turbine engine derive their power from the burning fuel in the combustion chamber and use the fast-flowing combustion gases to drive a turbine. The combustion occurs inside the closed combustion chamber, and it is categorized as the internal type of engine. As you can see on this figure, basically this figure is consists of the first one is air intake, the second one is the compressor, the third one is the combustion chamber, and the fourth one is the turbine, and here it is the exhaust. So basically the compressor, as you can see here, so this is the series of the compressor and is attached by using only one shaft. So the blue one, this is one shaft together with the turbine. Okay, the yellow one is the turbine, the series of the turbine. So the compressor is attached to the similar shaft of the turbine. So the first one, air is sucked from the outside. So let me clear this one first. So the first one, the air is sucked from the surrounding, then it is compressed by compressor. So the air, after it compressed, it will transfer into the combustion chamber. At the combustion chamber, the fuel is injected and it is burned inside the combustion chamber. So the exhaust gas then is directly to the turbine and it will rotate the turbine, and finally the exhaust gas residue will release to the surrounding. So basically this is what we call the working principle of the basic gas turbine engine. So this diagram, basically we can write what we call, or we can draw the schematic diagram like the figure on my right, on the right hand side. So the first one, the air is drawn from the surrounding, goes into the compressor, and the compressor will compress the air. So the air that has been compressed, which have the high pressure and temperature, will transfer into the combustion chamber. So now the fuel is injected from the fuel injection system, and inside the combustion chamber, the air and fuel will combust. So the the combustion gases that has high energy will be transferred into the turbine, and it will drive the turbine to produce the work net. Then the exhaust gas is released to the surrounding again. So this is the actual working principle of the gas turbine engine. Actually, an American mechanical engineer and inventor named George Bailey Brayton in 1872 invented this gas turbine engine. George Bailey Brayton have applied the basic consideration in the analysis of the power cycle as well as the air standard assumption, as we learned in chapter 5, in his design and the analysis of his gas turbine engine. The result from this assumption is what we known as the Brayton cycle, or the ideal cycle for the gas turbine engine. The Brayton cycle, also known as Joule cycle, is basically the air standard ideal cycle approximation for the gas turbine engine. As the George Bailey Brayton have applied the basic consideration in the analysis of the power cycle, as well as the air standard assumption, then the combustion process is replaced by constant pressure heat addition process from the external sources, and the exhaust process also is replaced by the constant pressure heat rejection process to the ambient air. This assumption has led to the ideal cycle of the gas turbine engine, or the Brayton cycle. To the first one is basically the isentropic compression in the compressor. The second one is the constant pressure heat addition. The third one is isentropic expansion. The fourth one basically the constant pressure heat rejection. Okay, so if you look at the schematic diagram, so the first one we have the air is drawn from here, so from the surrounding, then the air is goes into the compressor, and then that compressor basically compress the air, goes to the heat exchanger. Until heat exchanger there is no combustion, because this is the ideal system that we use, the what we call the air standard cycle approximation, and then the heat is input to the heat exchanger. Then the gas is transferred into the turbine, and the turbine will produce the work output. So the output of the basically turbine is only air, then it can be recycled into heat exchanger. Now the heat is transferred out before it is compressed again. So this is what we call the schematic diagram of the ideal cycle for the gas turbine engine. Based on this schematic diagram, so we can plot two graphs. Basically, the first one is the PV diagram, as we plot for the Otto and diesel cycle. So process number one is basically isentropic compression. Process number two is basically constant pressure heat addition. Process number three is isentropic expansion. Process number four is constant pressure heat rejection. So from this diagram, we also can draw what we call the TS diagram. So similarly, process 1 to 2 is basically isentropic compression. Process 2 to 3 is basically a constant pressure heat addition. Process 3 to 4 is basically isentropic expansion. And process 4 to 1 basically constant pressure heat rejection. So for the ideal cycle for the gas turbine engine, which is the Brayton cycle, we prefer to use TS diagram rather than PV diagram. So it is because it is easy to see what we call the isentropic component, whereas here we can directly, this is isentropic, whereas at state 1 and state 2 the entropy is the same. So, or in other words, we can say S1 is equal to S2. Similarly, at the state 3 and state 4, so basically S3 is equal to S4. That's why we prefer to use TS diagram rather than PV diagram for the Brayton cycle. So basically this is what we call the concept of the Brayton cycle for the ideal cycle for the gas turbine engine. So this is basically the process description of the Brayton cycle. So process 1 to 2, basically the isentropic compression. Okay, for the isentropic compression, we can use the isentropic relationship between pressure, volume, and temperature. So what we have is P1 over P2 is equal to V2 over V1 power of K. Please do remember K is specific heat ratio, which is Cp over Cv. This is also equal to T1 over T2. K power of k divided by k minus 1. So basically this equation is very similar to the isentropic compression for the Otto and diesel cycle. So from this one also we can calculate the work input for the isentropic compression, which is H2 minus H1. We know that in the case of ideal gas, H is equal to CPT. Then we can calculate the work input is equal to, so CP T2 minus T1. So this is the work in the compressor that we can calculate at the state of 1 to 2 or the process of the isentropic compression. So next, so for the process of 2 to 3, which is the constant pressure heat addition process. So in this case, we want to calculate the heat input, which is Q in. So Q in basically mass multiplied by Cp T3 minus T2. So this is equivalent to the combustion chamber, which is equal to the efficiency of the combustion chamber multiplied by the mass mass of the fuel multiplied by the calorific value of the fuel. Okay, number 3, basically, so this is from state 3 to 4. So this is basically isentropic expansion. So similarly, we can use the equation or the relationship of the isentropic expansion as P3 over P4 is equal to V4 over V3 power of K is equal to T3 over T4 power K divided by K over 1. So for the isentropic expansion, we also can calculate what we call the work output of the system, or the work output at the turbine. Isentropic expansion occur at the turbine, which is H3 minus H4. So also similarly, we know H is equal to CP3, CPT. Then the work turbine we can calculate as CP T3 minus T4. So this is the work output from the turbine. And process 4 to 1, which is the constant pressure heat rejection. So at this process, we would like to calculate the heat output or heat rejection. So we calculate by using mass times Cp T4 minus T1. Okay, from this one, as a summary, so we can calculate the thermal efficiency of the Brayton cycle as usual, work net divided by Q in. We know that work net is equal to Q in minus Q out. So we rearrange this equation, we get 1 minus Q out over Q in. Then when we rearrange, we get 1 minus 1 over Rp K minus 1 over K. So now we using Rp. In previous chapter, we using RV. RV mean, so compression ratio. Rp mean pressure ratio, where it is defined as, Rp is defined as here. So Rp is equal to P2 over P1. So now for the Brayton cycle, we will using Rp in our equation. So basically this is equal to 1 over Rp because this is P1 over P2. Okay, so Rp basically, please remember, is P2 over P1. The graph on the left-hand side on this slide is illustrate the trend of the thermal efficiency of the ideal Brayton cycle as the function of the pressure ratio. As you can see on this graph, so this is what we call the efficiency of the Brayton cycle, and this is the pressure ratio. So as you can see on this graph, as you increase what we call the pressure ratio, the thermal efficiency of the Brayton cycle also increase. However, the optimum value to increase the pressure ratio, it will reduce after some period of time. So as you can see, if you increase the pressure ratio more than 20, so the increment of the pressure ratio basically is going to be plateau. Okay, so for this next parameter that we need to consider in the analysis of the Brayton cycle is basically, we call it as the back work ratio. So as I explained earlier, the compressor and the turbine were attached at the similar shaft. So the power output is produced at the turbine. However, part of it need to be transferred to the compressor in order to compress the air. So what is said here is part of the work output from the turbine is used to drive the compressor, which in turn require a work input known as the back work ratio, and the back work ratio is written as, so this is the formula of back work ratio, so it is symbol as RBW. So we have to remember RV compression ratio, RP pressure ratio, RBW is back work ratio, is the work from the compressor divided by the work from the turbine. We know that work from the compressor is equal to CP T2 over minus T1, and work from the turbine is CP T3 minus T4. So we can cancel out this term. Okay, so basically we can calculate the back work ratio as T2 minus T1 over T3 minus T4. So this is what we call the back work ratio. This is sample problem 6.1, the ideal cycle of the gas turbine engine. Okay, let us read the question. So the question said that the ideal air standard Brayton cycle operate with air entering the compressor at 95 kilopascal and 22 degrees Celsius. The pressure ratio RP is 6 to 1. Please do remember double column mean 6 to 1. It is not 6.1. And the air leave the heat addition process at 1100 degrees Celsius. Okay, determine the compressor work and the turbine work per unit mass flow, the cycle efficiency, and the back work ratio. Also, assume the constant specific heat at room temperature. Okay, based on that one, we can draw what we call the typical TS diagram for the ideal air standard Brayton cycle. Basically, state number one, this is the state where the air enter into the compressor, and state so state number 1 to state number 2 is isentropic compression. So that from this one, this is basically work compressor. Okay, then so it said that the air entering the compressor at 95 kilopascal and 22 degrees Celsius. So that P1 is equal to 95 kilopascal, T1 is equal to 22 degrees Celsius, which is equal to 295 Kelvin. So please do remember, so for the Brayton cycle, the working fluid is air, so we have to assume which is the air standard cycle, and we need to use the unit of Kelvin for the temperature. Okay, then the pressure ratio is 6 to 1. What is meant by is, so this line, which is line from state 2 to 3, the pressure is constant. So that means P2 is equal to P3. The ratio is equal to the ratio between P2 and P1 is equal to 6 to 1. Okay, so it's given as pressure ratio. So now the pressure ratio is equal to P2 over P1. It is also similar to P3 over P4. Also similar to P2 over P4. Similar to P3 over P1. This is also can be written as 6 over 1, or we can write it 6 to 1. Okay. And then it said that, and the air leave the heat addition process. So heat addition process is from 2 to 3. So when it leave at state number 3. That's why we have here T3 is equal to 1100 degrees Celsius. This is equivalent to 1373 Kelvin. So this is how we write what we call, we extract the information from the given question to the TS diagram. Okay, all right. In order to solve the problem, basically it is best way what we call we understand the question that given to us. So in this question, it said that the first one, if they want to calculate the compressor work per unit mass. So the equation for the compressor work per unit mass is work compressor is equal to Cp T2 minus T1. Okay, so number two is the turbine work per unit mass. So we can calculate the turbine work per unit mass is equal to Wt is equal to Cp T3 over minus T4. And also the cycle efficiency, we know that it is work net divided by Q in. And finally, the back work ratio is calculated based work compressor divided by work turbine. Okay, so based on the equation given above, basically the solution required to determine the temperature at all the state in the TS diagram. So basically for the Brayton cycle, we need to calculate the temperature. This is basically very similar to the Otto and very similar to the diesel cycle. So we need the temperature because this is what we call the air standard cycle. So what we have to do now, we go one by one for the process to process. So process number one. So basically, process number one is actually the isentropic compression. So we can use the relationship of the isentropic, which is T2 over T1 is equal to P2 over P1. Power of K minus 1 over K. So we know that P2 over P1, this is our compression pressure ratio. So this is equal to Rp power of K minus 1 over K. So we can calculate T2 by rearranging it alone. So T2 is equal to T1 multiplied by Rp power of K minus 1 over K. So we know that T1 is equal to 295, Rp is equal to 6, K is equal to 1.4. So then we can get that T2 is equal to 492.21. So this is what we call the T2 based on the isentropic compression. So next we go to the second process, which is process from state 2 to state 3. Process from state 2 to state 3, which is the constant pressure heat addition process. So we know that the equation for the constant pressure heat addition process is Q in is equal to Cp T3 over T2. Then we can put all the information. We do have T3, which is 1373 Kelvin, and T2 we just calculated is 492.21. So now we can calculate the Q in. So this value Q in basically we can put into here. So for the efficiency, so we need the Q in. So now we already have the value of Q in. Okay, next process 3 to 4, which is the isentropic expansion. So similarly, because it is isentropic, we can use the equation of isentropic. T4 over T3 is equal to P4 over P3. So we know that from the TS diagram, P4 over P3 is equal to 1 over Rp is equal to 1 over 6. So we can rearrange our equation in order to determine T4. So now we can get T4 is 822.89 Kelvin. So we already have all the information that we need to calculate the first one, the compressor work output per unit mass. So this is equal to work compressor, Cp is equal to T2 minus T1. So we know that Cp is equal to 1.005 kilojoule per kilogram Kelvin. T2 we already calculated 492.21 from the previous slide. And then T1 is equal to 295. So what we get here is work compressor is equal to 198.2 kilojoule per kilogram. And then we can proceed to determine the turbine work per unit mass. So basically, sorry, work turbine is equal to Cp T3 minus T4. So we already know all what we call the required data. So then we put inside here. Okay, T3 is 1373, T4 is 1822. We already calculate here. So this is basically T4. So put inside here, then we can get the work for the turbine is 552.86 kilojoule per kilogram. Sorry, this is wrong. We have to cancel out this one. So there is no Kelvin here. Only kilojoule per kilogram. Okay, so this is how we calculate what we call the compressor work per unit mass as well as the turbine work per unit mass. Next, we can calculate the cycle efficiency. We know that the cycle efficiency is equal to work net divided by Q in. So work net is equal to work turbine minus work compressor. So we put what we call the value of work turbine that we have calculated earlier, 552.86, and work compressor is 198.2 divided by Q in, which is 885.19. So we can get it the value of the 40.1%. Please do remember the cycle efficiency. Basically, we will present it in the form of percentage. So the value is about 40.1%. And finally, we can calculate what is the back work ratio. So the formula that we know that is back work ratio is equal to work compressor divided by work turbine. So this is equal to 198.2 divided by 552.86. So we can get the back work ratio is equal to 0.3585. Similarly, the back work ratio also is presented in terms of percent. So we can calculate it for the 100%. We can get that the back work ratio is equal to 35.85%. So this is how the ideal cycle for the gas turbine, the ideal cycle or the Brayton cycle is analyzed. This is practice problem 6.1. There are 4 questions here related to the Brayton cycle, the ideal cycle for the gas turbine engine. Please complete this practice problem. And if you have any problem regarding to this practice problem, you can ask in our group WhatsApp. We know that the ideal cycle of the gas turbine engine were constructed based on the hypothesis of the basic consideration in the analysis of the power cycle as well as the air standard assumption. The next topic under the gas turbine engine is the deviation of the actual gas turbine cycle from the idealized one. That is mean we now will do the analysis based on the actual condition of the gas turbine cycle, which consists of the isentropic efficiency on the compressor and the isentropic efficiency on the turbine. Basically, this topic is related to the chapter 4, which is the isentropic efficiency of the steady flow devices. In the case of this gas turbine engine, we only cover 2 components for the actual condition, which are the compressor and turbine, as I explained earlier. Based on chapter 4, we have learned that the deviation of the performance or efficiency of the steady flow devices is based on the irreversibilities. Due to irreversibilities in the turbine and compressor, the efficiency of the turbine will drop than the ideal condition. In addition, the pressure will also drop as well as the heat is lost from the system. However, for this subject, we only consider the deviation at the turbine and compressor only. The pressure drop and the heat loss is neglected to reduce the complexity of the analysis. Anyhow, you all just the first year engineering student, so that it is rational to simplify some situation. As we learned in chapter 4, the isentropic efficiency of the compressor and the turbine basically is given by work compressor divided by work actual for the efficiency of the compressor. This will give the approximation about H2S minus H1 divided by H2A minus H1. Similarly, for the turbine, we can calculate it based on work actual of the turbine divided by work isentropic for the turbine. This will give that H3 minus H4A over H3 minus H4S. So basically this equation can be referred to the what we call TS diagram. So this is the TS diagram of the deviation of the actual gas turbine cycle from the idealized one. So we start at state number 1. So isentropic or ideal condition, it will straight up to 2S. However, because of the deficiency, okay, so basically the state 2A is basically on the right hand side, which is the S2 must higher than S1. So and then also the pressure also will be dropped, so to state number 3 here, and then this is state 4S. Okay, so state 4S, the isentropic expansion at the turbine. So however, because of deviation, so state 4A must higher than state 4S. So this is what we call the actual condition. However, for your case, we reduce what we call the pressure drop here. So we don't consider the pressure drop. So the cycle or the TS diagram for the deviation of the actual gas turbine cycle from idealized one in the case of MEC 451 is just this one. So this is T, this is S. So this is state number 1. So this is state 2S. So this is state 2A. And this is state 3, this is state 4S, and this is state 4A. So now we have process number 1 to 2S, process number 2, process 2 to 2A, and process number 3 is basically from 2A to 3, and then process number 4, 3 to 4S, and process number 5 from 3 to 4A. So now we have to consider the isentropic condition and the actual condition for both in the compressor as well as in the turbine. This is a sample problem 6.2 to demonstrate the example of the deviation of the actual gas turbine cycle from idealized one of the gas turbine engine. Okay, the question said a simple Brayton cycle is using air as the working fluid with a pressure ratio of 10. Okay, RP is equal to 10. So now we can write RP is equal to 10. The minimum and maximum temperature in the cycle are 295 and 1240. The minimum basically is T1. So this is T1, the minimum temperature, and the maximum temperature is here. So this is the maximum temperature of the cycle. So basically is 1240 Kelvin. Assuming an isentropic efficiency of 83% for the compressor, so compressor efficiency is equal to 83%. So for the calculation, it is actually 0.83, and 87% for the turbine. So efficiency of the turbine is equal to 87%, which is equal to 0.87 for the calculation. And using constant specific heat at room temperature, please do remember constant specific heat at room temperature, Cp is equal to 1.005 kilojoule per kilogram Kelvin, Cv is equal to 0.718 kilojoule per kilogram Kelvin, K is equal to 1.4, R is equal to 0.287 kilojoule per kilogram Kelvin. So now the question asks us to determine the air temperature at the exit of the turbine. The air temperature at the exit of the turbine. Exit of the turbine is basically 4A. Okay, and then the network output, and then the thermal efficiency. So this is the typical TS diagram for the actual gas turbine engine. As you can see, we have state number 1 here, and then we have state 2S, we have state 2A, we have state 3, 4S, and we have state 4A. So this is the actual gas turbine TS diagram. As we learn from the sample problem 6.1, basically for the gas turbine cycle or for the Brayton cycle, we need to calculate all the temperature for all the state. So now we go process by process. The first one, we go with the process 1 to 2S. So this is isentropic compression. So when it is isentropic compression, then we can use what we call the isentropic relationship. This is T2S over T1 is equal to Rp power of K minus 1 over K. We can rearrange for T2S, put all the information, then we can get T2S as 569.6 Kelvin. Similarly, we can go for the next process, which is process 1 to 2A. So process 1 to 2A, this is basically the actual compression. So please do remember that the process 1 to 2S is what we call ideal, and the process 1 to 2A, basically this is the actual. So in order to calculate the actual process, we need to use the efficiency of the compressor. We know that compressor efficiency is equal to T2S minus T1 over T2A minus T1. Then we can rearrange for T2A, put all the required information, then we can get T2A is equal to 625.8 Kelvin. So this is how we calculate the temperature at the actual state of the compressor. Then we can proceed to the process 2A to 3. So this is basically the constant pressure heat addition process. We know that the equation is very simple. Q in is equal to Cp T3 minus T2A. So we know that Cp is equal to 1.005 kilojoule per kilogram Kelvin. The question already given to us T3 is equal to 1240, and we already calculate T2A as 625.8. Substitute all the required information, and we can calculate for the Q in is equal to 617.27 kilojoule per kilogram. Okay, then we proceed for the next process, which is the process from 3 to 4S. So this is also isentropic expansion, similarly to what we have done in the sample problem 6.1. So we can use the isentropic relationship. T4S over T3 is equal to 1 over Rp. K minus 1 over K. So then substitute all the required information and we rearrange this equation. We can get T4S is equal to T3 minus 1 over Rp, K minus 1 over K. Then we substitute all the required information. We can calculate for T4S as for 642.25 Kelvin. So we now have the state of T4S. The last process for the deviation of actual gas turbine cycle from the ideal last one is process 3 to 4A. So in this process, basically this is the actual expansion. Similarly to the actual compression, we can use the efficiency. So in this case, we can use the efficiency of the turbine. So we know that the efficiency of the turbine is equal to T3 minus T4A over T3 minus T4S. So rearrange for T4A, we can get that is equal to T3 minus efficiency of the turbine multiplied by T3 over minus T4S. Substitute the required information, then we can get T4A is equal to 719.6 0.96. So this is the answer for the A. What is the temperature at the exit of the turbine? So the answer is 719.96. Okay, so B, we can calculate now the net work output. So work net is basically work turbine minus work compressor. So where work turbine is equal to Cp T3 minus T4A, substitute the data, we can get that work turbine is equal to 522.64 kilojoule per kilogram. And also work compressor, we can calculate is equal to Cp T2A minus T1. So this is equal to work compressor 332.45. So this is how we calculate the work for the turbine and the compressor. But the difference here is, please do remember that now we using the actual value of the temperature rather than we use the isentropic value. If you use the isentropic value, which is T4S or T4A in the calculation of the work turbine and work compressor, so you will get the work isentropic or the ideal work output from the turbine and the compressor. Based on that, we can calculate the net work, so which is equal to work turbine, we have calculate 522.64 minus work compressor 332.45, and the work net is equal to 190.19 kilojoule per kilogram. So this is how we calculate the work net for the system. And finally, we can calculate the thermal efficiency of the cycle. So similarly, work net divided by Q in, then we already calculate work net is equal to 190.19, and Q in we calculate already at the state of 2A to 3, so as 617.27. So we can get the efficiency of the cycle is equal to 0.3081, or in percentage is equal to 30.81%. So this is how we solve the problem of the deviation of actual gas turbine cycle from the idealized one. This is the practice problem 6.2. There are two questions here related to the Brayton cycle, the deviation of actual gas turbine cycle from the idealized one for the gas turbine engine. Please complete this practice problem. This is another practice problem 6.2. Also, there are two questions here related to the Brayton cycle, the deviation of actual gas turbine cycle from idealized one for the gas turbine engine. As usual, please complete this practice problem. And if you have any problem regarding to this practice problem, you can ask in our WhatsApp group. Okay, now we move on to the following topic in this gas turbine engine, which is the development of the gas turbine engine. In the real development of the gas turbine engine, the highest temperature in the cycle is actually limited by the maximum temperature that turbine blade can withstand. This temperature limit also limit the pressure ratio that can be used in the cycle, since the pressure and temperature is directly proportional to each other. If we refer to this diagram, for the TS diagram, in this graph, we can see that the maximum temperature is limited to, let's say, 1000 Kelvin. So this is the maximum line that we can increase our Brayton cycle. So for this one, if we start the temperature here, okay, then we only can increase what we call the heat additional process to here only, and then this will limit our pressure ratio. Okay, all right, so this is the area underneath that produce the work. So if we what we call compress our air into this temperature, and then this is much of the heat addition that we can input. So also, if the lower the temperature that we increase at the compressor, the higher the what we call heat input we can give into the system. So basically, we have to calculate what is the ideal compression ratio with the temperature limit in order to produce what we call the maximum work output. As you can see in this graph, okay, so the area underneath of these three graph, which is the first one with RP is equal to 2, okay, So this is pressure ratio is equal to 2, this is pressure ratio is equal to 8, and this is pressure ratio is equal to 15. It seems like what we call pressure ratio with 8.2 have higher work net output as compared to the pressure ratio of 2 and pressure ratio of 15. The air intake in the gas turbine engine will supply the necessary oxygen for the combustion of the fuel, and it also serves as a coolant to keep the temperature of the various components in the gas turbine engine within safe limit. So normally an air fuel ratio of 50 or above is common for the gas turbine engine. So this is because basically we need more air in order to the first one combust the air fuel mixture, and the second one to cool down the system or the component. So which is that is mean that the combustion is occur with excess of the air, which is some of air is used to cool down the component inside the gas turbine engine. Actually, in order to increase the performance of the gas turbine engine, there are three possible ways, which are the first one is actually we can increase the turbine inlet or firing temperature, as you can see in this graph. So this is what we call the inlet of the firing temperature. So we can increase from here to here to here. So if we increase higher, is also what we call give a negative effect, but it is too low, it will produce low work output. Number two, we can increase the efficiency of turbo machinery component. So let's say from previous example 6.2, the efficiency of turbine and the efficiency of the what we call compressor is about 80% something. So we can increase it to what we call 98 or 99%. However, it is impossible to what we call design the turbo machinery, which is turbine and compressor, which have isentropic performance. And number three, basically we can add modification to the basic cycle, which is we can add intercooling, we can add regeneration or recuperating, and we can reheat the cycle. So basically we will focus on this area on the improve or the development of the gas turbine engine. This is the first modification that we can make to the gas turbine engine, which is adding the regenerator, or sometimes we call it recuperator, to the Brayton cycle. In a gas turbine engine, normally the temperature of the exhaust gas leaving the turbine is often considerably higher than the temperature of the air leaving the compressor. Okay, based on the TS diagram provided on this slide, so this is the TS diagram. As you can see, this is what we call the exit of the compressor. So the air is compressed to here, so it will increase the temperature to, this is T2. From T2, basically we have to put the fire in order to increase the temperature to the T3. Okay, so now this is the value of the increasing of the temperature. So obviously this temperature refer to the Q in. So please do remember Q in is equal to the mass that we burn, the mass of fuel that we burn inside the combustion chamber. Based on this one, we can see at the state T4. So this is the air leaving the leaving the turbine, which is at the exhaust system. As you can see at the exhaust system here, the temperature T4 is basically higher than the temperature T2. Therefore, the high pressure air leaving the compressor can be heated by the hot exhaust gas in a counterflow heat exchanger, or it is also called as regenerator or recuperator. Okay, so the schematic diagram provided here is showing how the regenerator is attached to the gas turbine engine. As you can see the schematic diagram, so this is what we call the air inlet to the compressor. So now the compressor is compress the air here. Okay, then while it moving here, so it take what we call the heat exchanger in here is put, the regenerator is put here. So the exhaust gas that is hot is transferred into what we call the compressed air. So this area, as you can see, so this is the area that we can recover. So because this temperature is high, so we can use the exhaust gas from the what we call turbine. So therefore, the result from this one is basically, so we can reheat what we call the inlet air, okay, to a certain value, but the maximum value is basically is equal to the T4. So this is the maximum value. However, we cannot get the maximum. So from here to state 5, so basically we get what we call Q regen or regeneration that we can get from the exhaust gas. Okay, so now the hot exhaust gas goes into the combustion chamber. Then this is our Q in that we put fuel here. Okay, so this is we put fuel. And then similar process is go out. So we can recover the heat. In the case of here, we can reduce the usage of the fuel to increase the heat for the system. Thus, the thermal efficiency of the Brayton cycle will increase as a result of the regeneration, since less fuel is used for the same work output. The efficiency or the ability of the regenerator can absorb the heat from the hot exhaust gas of the gas turbine engine and heat up the cool intake air is known as the regenerator effectiveness. So please do remember, we do not call it as the efficiency. However, we call it as regenerator effectiveness. The regenerator effectiveness is defined as the ratio of the heat transfer to the compressor gases in the regenerator to the maximum possible heat transfer to the compressor gases. As you can see here, basically, so this is T4. This is the maximum temperature that produced at the exhaust gas. Then this is state 5 prime. So this is basically the maximum temperature limit. So if this temperature is 700 degrees Celsius, let's say this is 700 degrees Celsius, okay, and then we compress the air. So the air from surrounding, basically this is equal to 30 degrees Celsius. Let's say we compress heat into what we call 200 degrees Celsius. Let's say. So we can increase this temperature from 200 degrees Celsius maximum to the 700 degrees Celsius only. We cannot reach more than 700 degrees Celsius because the temperature at the exhaust is only 700 degrees Celsius. However, obviously, during the transfer process or during the heat transfer process, we cannot get the 100%. So we only get part of it. Maybe we can get 600 degrees Celsius only. So now what we have is we can save what we call 400 degrees Celsius here. So this 400 degrees Celsius, okay, divided by what we call maximum possibility is equal to 500. So that is what we call the efficiency, the effectiveness of the regeneration. So in this case, we can calculate what we call the system, the everything. Okay, so we can calculate the Q regeneration. So the Q regeneration calculate as H5 minus H2. So this is the Q regeneration that we can calculate from Q2 to Q5. So basically higher minus lower. So this is the amount of heat that we can recover. We call it Q regeneration, which is actual. And the maximum is basically H5 prime minus H2. Basically, the maximum it can go to the H5 prime. So this is equal to H4 minus H2. So because maximum H5 prime is equal to H4 in the system. So the effectiveness of regeneration, so Q regeneration for the actual divided by Q regeneration maximum, we can get it. This is equal to H5 minus H2A over H4 minus H2S. We know that for ideal gases using the cool air standard assumption with constant specific heat, the regenerator effectiveness become so T5 minus T2 divided by T4 minus T2. So this is basically the equation for regeneration effectiveness, where we have to know what we call the temperature at the exhaust and the limit that we can absorb what we call or recover the heat from the exhaust. The thermal efficiency of the gas turbine engine also depends on the ratio of the minimum to maximum temperature as well as the pressure ratio. Figure aside illustrate the relationship between the efficiency of the Brayton cycle as a function of the pressure ratio for the gas turbine engine that using regeneration and without using the regeneration. As you can see on this graph, so this is what we call the normal, what we call thermal efficiency of the Brayton cycle that is without the regeneration. However, when we use the regeneration, the efficiency line will become like this. Okay, so this is with regeneration. That means the lower the ratio T3, T1 over T3, the higher the thermal efficiency with the regeneration. Based on that graph, the regeneration system is most effective at lower pressure ratio and low minimum to maximum temperature ratio. At higher pressure ratio, the inlet temperature also higher due to the relationship between the pressure and temperature that they are proportional to each other. Because of that, the different temperature between exhaust gas and the firing temperature is too small, and sometimes the firing temperature is higher than the exhaust temperature, so that the regenerator is not working for that condition. This is sample problem 6.3, the Brayton cycle with regeneration. Obviously, this sample problem is used to demonstrate the example of the usage of regenerator in the gas turbine engine. Okay, let us read the question. Air enter the compressor of a regenerative gas turbine engine at 100 kilopascal and 300 Kelvin. Okay, air enters the compressor. This is P1 is equal to 100 kilopascal. T1 is equal to 300 Kelvin. And is compressed to 800 kilopascal. Compressed to 800 kilopascal. This is equal to P2 is equal to 800 kilopascal. The regenerator have effectiveness of 65%. So effectiveness of regenerator is equal to 0.65. This is because 65%. And the air enters the turbine at 1200 Kelvin. So T3 enters the turbine is 1200 Kelvin. So for a compressor efficiency of 75%, efficiency of the compressor 0.75, and turbine efficiency of 86%, 0.86. So please determine the heat transfer in the regenerator, the back work ratio, the cycle thermal efficiency. And the question asks us, assume air as an ideal gas with constant specific heat. So we can take the specific heat at room temperature. So based on that one, we can what we call draw the TS diagram for the Brayton cycle with the regeneration. So this is TS diagram for the Brayton cycle with regeneration. This is state number 1, and then this is isentropic compression to state number 2S. But however, so this is what we call the actual compression to state 2A. So from state 2A, the heat is the air is heated by using the exhaust gas, or we call it Q regeneration. So until state 5. Okay, to the state 5. From state 5, so basically, so it will use the heat from the combustion chamber to increase the temperature of the air into the maximum temperature of the 1200 Kelvin. Okay, then the air is what we call go through the turbine. So this is the isentropic expansion in the turbine to the state of 4s. However, the actual, okay, it goes here. So this is the state 4a. Please do remember that this line is the constant pressure line, whereas P1 is equal to P4S is equal to P4A. Similarly, so this is basically constant pressure process. Okay, state 2S is equal to P2S is equal to P2A is equal to P5 is equal to P5 prime is equal to P3. Okay, so now the question asks us to determine the heat transfer in the regenerator. So basically, it will ask us to determine what we call the Q regeneration. So this is how we extract the information from the what we call the question given to us. Okay, please note that for any cycle, we need to have what we call the property diagram, or we need to have what we call the process diagram. So in the case of Brayton cycle, we must draw what we call the TS diagram to show the process, so that it's easy for us to determine all the required question. As we learn in the example 6.1 and 6.2, basically we have to determine the temperature at all of the state. So we have to go the process by process. So as usual, for the first one, we go for the process 1 to 2S. So this is basically isentropic compression. We can use what we call the isentropic relationship. So this is, you should be familiar now. Put all the required information, arrange whatever you need, so we can get that T2S is equal to 543.43 Kelvin. Okay, now we can proceed to the process 1 to 2A. Please do remember, if we have what we call 2A, so this is related to the actual. So when we related to actual, so we use what we call the efficiency of the compressor or efficiency of the turbine. So the equation for the efficiency of the compressor, we know that it is T2S minus T1 divided by T2A minus T1. So we rearrange this equation, we should get that T2A is equal to 624.57 Kelvin. And then from this one, we can calculate basically the compressor work. So now the compressor work, okay, the equation is WC is equal to CP. Please do remember, so this is what we call actual compression. We need to have T2A. We cannot use T2S, okay, because T2S basically isentropic. So now we have to calculate for the actual minus T1. So put the required information. Then we can determine that the compressor work is equal to 326.19. Okay, so this is how we calculate what we call the compressor work output. Okay, next process 3 to 4S. So basically, similarly, this is isentropic expansion. For this isentropic expansion, so we use the relationship for the isentropic. Okay, so T4S over T3 is equal to 1 over RP. So please refer to what we call sample problem 6.1 and 6.2 in order to what we call understand how it become 1 over RP. Okay, so put all the required information and we can get T4S is equal to 662.45 Kelvin. Okay, next we can proceed to the process 3 to 4a. So at this process, basically this is the actual expansion. For the actual expansion, as I said earlier, we have to use the equation for the efficiency of the devices. So in this case, this is what you call the turbine. So we put here efficiency of the turbine. So this is equal to T3 minus T4a is over T3 minus T4s. We can rearrange this equation. We can get T4a is equal to 737.71. Okay, so based on our calculation, so we can determine now what we call the turbine work output. So the turbine work output is equal to, okay, CP T3 minus T4a. Put the required information. So based on that one, we can get that work turbine is equal to 464.6 kilogram per Kelvin. Then we can proceed to the process 2A to 5. So basically this is the regeneration. So in this regeneration, so we have to use what we call the regenerator effectiveness. We have defined earlier that the refrigerator effectiveness, okay, this is equal to T5 minus T2A over T4A minus T2A. Then we can rearrange and calculate for T5. Okay, so put all the information. Okay, effectiveness of regenerator is equal to 0.65. T4A is equal to 737.71. T2A is equal to 624.57. And then we can get T5 is equal to 698.1 Kelvin. So based on that one, okay, we can calculate the heat that we can recover. So Q regeneration is equal to Cp T5 minus T2A. So 1.005 kilojoule per kilogram Kelvin multiplied by 698.1 minus 624.57. We can cancel out the Kelvin. So we can get Q regeneration is equal to 73.89 kilojoule per kilogram. So this is how much energy that we can recover, what we call from the regeneration system. Okay, then from that one we can proceed to the process 5 to 3, which is the process constant pressure heat addition. So we can calculate our Q in out or heat input into the system. So now Q in is equal to Cp T3 minus T5. So put all the required information or required data, we can get what we call the Q in is equal to 504.41 kilojoule per kilogram. Based on that, we can calculate what we call the back work ratio, which is the back work ratio is equal to work of the compressor divided by work turbine. We already calculate the work of the compressor as 3261.95 and work of the turbine 464.6. So we can get the back work ratio is equal to 0.7021. This is approximately equal to 70%. So that means 70% of the power output at the turbine must be returned back to the what we call compressor in order to compress the air. Okay, and from this one we can calculate the thermal efficiency of the cycle. Okay, so we know that the thermal efficiency of the cycle is equal to work net divided by Q in. So work net is equal to work turbine minus work compressor divided by Q in. We already calculated work turbine. We calculated work compressor. We already have calculated the Q in. Substitute the required data. We can get what we call thermal efficiency of 0.2744, or this is equal to 27.44%. So please recall that the meaning of thermal efficiency is how efficient the engine convert the heat into work. So in this case, the thermal efficiency of the Brayton cycle with regeneration only 27%. So that means 1 liter of the fuel that is used in the gas turbine engine only 0.27 liters that has been used to do the work. The other, what we call 32 or 33 70 2 or 73% of the fuel is being waste to the surrounding. So basically the Brayton cycle or the gas turbine engine, we can consider it as the worst what we call efficiency of the engine. However, the most important advantage for the Brayton cycle or the gas turbine engine is it is very light. So that's why it is used for the aeroplane. So this is what we call how we use what we call the Brayton cycle with generation, and this is what we call the sample problem 6.3. This is the practice problem 6.3. There are three questions here related to the Brayton cycle with regeneration for the gas turbine engine. As usual, please complete this practice problem. Okay, now we move on to the final stage of the gas turbine engine, which is the Brayton cycle with intercooling, reheating, and regeneration. As you can see on this diagram, for the schematic diagram here, the first one, air is compressed in the first compressor, then it will goes into the intercooler. After that, it will go to the compressor, second compressor. Then the air is reheat in the regenerator and goes to the combustion chamber to increase further the temperature. Then it will release into the first turbine. After that, it will reheat again to the second combustion chamber. So reheater basically the second combustion chamber. And basically here, okay, we have to put the mass. So this is the mass of the fuel we have to add from here, and also at the reheater we have to put the second mass. So now we have two combustion chamber. After that, the air will goes into the second turbine. As you can see, all of them is connected by using what we call the single shaft only. So this is the single shaft connected to them. So after that, the air is exhaust to the regenerator, and for this one the heat is transferred to the first system. So based on this schematic diagram, basically we can draw what we call our TS diagram. So this is the TS diagram. Okay, so this is state number 1. So it will compress in the first compressor, then it goes to the intercooler. Please do remember that the purpose of intercooler is to reduce the heat while maintaining the pressure. Then it will compress again and it will increase again what we call the temperature and pressure, okay, to the next level. Then from this one, we can use what we call the Q regeneration to increase the temperature of the air. Then we can increase what we call the temperature again by using the Q in. Then we can release the gas in the what we call the first turbine to get the first work output. And after that, we can reheat again, okay, to what we call to increase the temperature before we release into what we call the second turbine, and we release the exhaust gas to the regeneration. And this area basically we can cover what we call the heat for the Q regeneration. So this is what we call the TS diagram for the Brayton cycle with the intercooling, reheating, and regeneration. For this one, we can calculate what we call the pressure ratio, which is P2 over P1 is equal to P4 over P3. So this is what we call the pressure ratio. P2 over P1 is equal to P4 over P3. Similarly, the pressure ratio at the turbine P6 over P7 is equal to P8 over P9. So this is P6 over this is P6 over P7, and this is P8 over P9. So this is how what we call the Brayton cycle with intercooling and reheating and regeneration, what we call behave for the schematic as well as for the TS diagram. By using the multi-stage compression with intercooling, the work required to compress a gas between two specified pressure can be decreased by carrying out the compression process in stages and cooling in the gas in between. It is similar to what the reciprocating engine is using the multi-cylinder engine. This will keep the specific volume as low as possible. Multi-stage expansion with reheating will keep the specific volume of the working fluid as high as possible during an expansion process. Thus, it will maximizing the work output at the turbine. In general, the use of the intercooling and reheating always decrease the thermal efficiency unless they are accompanied by regeneration. This is because the intercooling decreases the average temperature at which heat is added, and reheating will increase the average temperature at the heat at which the heat is rejected. If the number on the compression and expansion stages is increased, the ideal gas turbine cycle with intercooling, reheating, and regeneration approach the theoretical limit, which is the Carnot efficiency. So the contribution of each of adding stages to the thermal efficiency is less and less, and the use more than 2 or 3 stages cannot be justified economically. However, it will produce more power output with less thermal efficiency and also will increase the fuel consumption. So basically, if the system or the airplane require what we call high work output, so they have to sacrifice the thermal efficiency and sacrifice the fuel economy. This is a sample problem 6.4. Obviously, this sample problem will demonstrate to you how to solve the problem of the Brayton cycle with intercooling, reheating, and regeneration. Okay, let us see the question or read the question first. The question said, a gas turbine with intercooling and reheat operate at steady state. Air enters to the both identical compressor at 300 Kelvin. Okay, what is the meaning by identical compressor? Is basically there are many compressor but have a similar size. So that when it said that identical, the compressors will work at the same condition and it will consume what we call the power input as similar to each other. So in this case, when it said that identical, either 10 identical or 100 identical compressor, what you have to do is you just what we call calculate one compressor and then multiply with the other. So because the power output is the same. So based on the schematic diagram, that means this is the input of the first compressor. So this is basically 300 Kelvin, and this is basically similar to the second compressor, and this is also what we call 300 Kelvin because they are identical. Okay, and also the question also said that both identical turbine. So that means the turbine also similar. So what have here is basically, so the inlet of the turbine at state number 1. So this is basically 1400 Kelvin, and this is also similar to the intake for the second compressor. Okay, and the question also give to us the mass flow rate within the cycle, which is 6 kilogram per second. So basically when it give mass, so we can convert what we call the specific work output into the power, because we have what we call now the unit of kilogram per second. Then the question also give to us what it said that here is the pressure ratio. So the pressure ratio RP across two stage of compressor. So this is also known as the overall, OVERALL pressure ratio. That means both compressor, okay, the pressure ratio. So both compressor, the inlet of the compressor is state 1, the exit for the second compressor 1 is state 2, the inlet for the second compressor is state 3, and the outlet of the compressor at second compressor as at state 4. So that means overall pressure ratio is actually P4 over P1. So it is not the same. This is not equal to P2 over P1. They are different. Similarly, for this turbine, okay, so we can get that P6 over P5 or P5 over P6 is not equal to the overall pressure ratio, which is P5 over P8. So that what is the meaning by the pressure ratio across two-stage compressor and two-stage turbine, and the value is equal to 10. So what is given here is basically P4 over P1 is equal to overall pressure ratio, and this is equal to the value of 10. So for the isentropic compression and expansion, we cannot use the value of 10. We have to calculate for each compressor, that means P2 over P1 as well as P5 over P6. So I will show you how to do it. So then it also gives to us the isentropic efficiency for each compressor and turbine is assumed to be 100%. So this is make it the problem easier. So because we do not need to calculate the state of the actual state, either T2A or T4A, something like that. So also the question said, assuming that there is no pressure loss during the intercooling, during the combustion, and during the reheating process. So therefore, the question also gives us to use the cool air standard assumption. So cool air standard assumption means Cp is equal to 1.005, Cv is equal to 0.718, and K is equal to 1.4, R is equal to 0.287 kilojoule per kilogram Kelvin. Okay, so from this one, we are asked to determine the first one, the sketch the TS diagram based on this regenerative Brayton cycle. Then we are asked to determine the thermal efficiency, and also finally we are asked to determine the net power developed. So please remember this kilowatt is basically referred to this mass flow rate. Okay. Okay, for number one, so this is the sketch of TS diagram for this regenerative Brayton cycle based on the schematic diagram given to us in previous or in the question. Okay, from state 1, okay, then it will increase into the state number 2 isentropically. Please do remember the isentropic efficiency for this compressor is 100%. That means this is the isentropic. Then it will reduce what we call the heat in the intercooler, but it will maintain the pressure. After that, it will increase again in the second compressor to the state number 4, similarly isentropically, because the efficiency is 100%. Then the heat is added into the system, and the temperature is increased to the state number 5, which is this is the maximum temperature of the cycle. After that, the gas or the air is released to the first turbine to produce the first work output, and then it will reheat again to the second, what we call using the second reheater or combustion chamber before it is released to the what we call second turbine. So that means the power output, the power input, okay, this is work in, is equal to this work input. Okay, similarly, the work output here is similar to this work output. So what we have to do is, in order to simplify, we just calculate what we call one power work input for this compressor, and then we multiply by 2, then we can get the total work input for this one. So identical turbine at 1400 Kelvin. So that means T5 is equal to T7. So this is equal to T5. So this is equal to T7. So here what we call dia temperature. Okay, so which is 1400 Kelvin. Okay, so this will similarly T6 is equal to T8. So we can see here T6 is equal to T8. So but so far we don't know what is the value yet. And then as I said earlier, so the work output just 2 times work turbine. Similarly for the identical compressor at 300 Kelvin. So this is 300 Kelvin. So T1 is equal to T3 as well as T4 is equal to T2. So this is 300 Kelvin. So similarly, both compressor will consume similar power input. Then the total work input just 2 times work compressor. This is how what we call the system behave for the identical turbine and identical compressor. So that means it's easy. So although it have 10, let's say the question have 10 compressor or 10 turbine. So basically you just multiply by one turbine only to calculate the power. Recall that for the process isentropic compression and isentropic expansion, we need to use the equation of isentropic, which is the pressure ratio Rp. So, however, the question gives to us the overall pressure ratio or the pressure ratio across all the turbine and compressor. So now we have to do calculating the pressure ratio for each compressor and turbine from the overall pressure ratio. So it said that it given to us the overall pressure ratio of the both compressor and turbine is 10. Then for compressor, we have two compressor. So the overall pressure ratio, as I said earlier, is P4 over P1. This is equal to 10. And this is what we call the overall pressure ratio. So for each compressor, the pressure ratio can be calculated using the chain rule. So P4 over P1 based on that diagram is equal to P4 over P3 multiplied by P2 over P1. So we know that P2 is equal to P3. So based on this, sorry, chain rule, we can cancel out P2 over P3. Then we can get similarly P4 over P1. So we also know that for the identical compressor, P4 over P3 is equal to P2 over P1. So substitute the identical compressor into the equation. So or into this equation. So alright, so this is identical compressor. So we can substitute here. So what we have is we do have P4 over P1 is equal to P2 over P1 multiply also by P2 over P1. So in this case, we can get that P4 over P1 is equal to P2 over P1 power of 2. So now we get power here. So therefore, we can calculate what we call this equation. So P2, in order to calculate, so now what we want is we want P2 over P1. So we have change what we call the power of 2 here. So what we have, we become under root or square root here. So that's all. So therefore, what we get here is actually P2 over P1. This is also equal to the P4 over P3 as we see from this equation. So this is basically equal to square root of P4 over 1, which is the P4 over P1. This is overall pressure ratio. The value is equal to 10. So then what we have here, we get that P2 over P1 is equal to P4 over P3. This is equal to square root of 10. Then this is what we call our pressure ratio. So similar thing happen to the turbine. Okay, so since what you call the overall pressure ratio for the turbine also the 10, so the pressure ratio for the turbine also is equal to square root of 10. So this is the note, okay, how to calculate the overall pressure ratio. So for three compressor or turbine, so RP is equal to square root 3 for the overall pressure ratio, and for the N compressor or turbine is just square root what we call power N for the overall pressure ratio. Let's say the question said you have what we call 10 identical. So this is RP is equal to 10 power of square root of overall pressure ratio. Now we already have our pressure ratio. So what we have to do is we just go process by process to determine the temperature for each state. So now we go to the process 1 to 2. So this is isentropic compression at compressor number 1. So similarly, this is isentropic compression. What we have to do is basically we just use what we call the relationship of what we call the isentropic compression. So between the temperature and pressure, so T2 over T1 is equal to P2 over P1 power of K minus 1 over K. We know that P2 over P1, this is what we call the pressure ratio, and then it is power of K minus 1 over K. So we can rearrange and then we can determine what we call the value of T2. So substitute T1 is equal to 300 Kelvin and RP is square root of 10. So 0.4 divided by 1.4. So we can get what we call value T2 is equal to 416.76. So this is the value of the temperature at state number 2. Please do remember that this value also equal to the T4 because they are identical. Okay, then we can calculate the isentropic work input for this compressor. So work compressor, we know that for one compressor or one typical compressor, this is equal to Cp T2 minus T1. So substitute all the value. Cp is equal to 1.005 kilojoule per kilogram Kelvin. T2 we just calculated as 416.76, and the T1 already given to us 300 Kelvin. Then we can get work of the compressor is equal to 117.34. Please do remember this is what we call for the process 1 to 2. That means this is what we call for the compressor number 1 only. That means the power consumed by compressor number 1 is actually equal to 117.34 kilojoule per kilogram. So now we have two compressor, so that for both compressor, so because of it identical, so work compressor total actually 2 times work compressor, so just 2 times 117.34. So the total work of the compressor or the total work that has been consumed by the compressor is equal to 234.68 kilojoule per kilogram. So this is how we calculate. So if we have what we call 10 compressor, 20 compressor, if the question say 100 compressor, so you do not need to worry about it because you only require to calculate one, then multiply with whatever number compressor do you have. Okay, the next is basically for the process 4 to 5. So process 4 to 5 is basically constant pressure heat addition. So in this case, we want to determine the value of Q in. So the formula said Q in is equal to Cp T5 minus T4. So we already need the we already have the value of T5, which is 1.005 kilojoule per kilogram Kelvin. And please do remember that the value of T4 is equal to the value of T2. So this is 416.76. So we can substitute here. Then we can calculate. Now we can get what we call the value of Q in is equal to 988.16 kilojoule per kilogram. Okay, so that is how we do what we call process by process. Okay, next we can proceed with the process 5 to 6. So process 5 to 6 basically is just isentropic expansion at turbine number 1. So we have to calculate isentropic expansion one by one. We cannot calculate it as overall. So at turbine number 1 only. So for turbine number 1, similarly, we use what we call the relationship of the isentropic between the pressure ratio and the temperature. So we know that P6 over P5 is basically 1 over Rp. So we can rearrange and calculate the value of T6. So as T5 multiplied by 1 over Rp, power of K minus 1 over K. So this is equal to, substitute the value 1400 multiplied by 1 over square root of 2, power of 0.4 over 1.4. Then we can get the value of T6 is equal to 1007.77 Kelvin. Okay, so we get the value of T6. So please remember this is identical compressor, whereas T6 is equal to T8. Okay, so then we can calculate what we call the isentropic work output from both identical turbine. So we can calculate the work total. We just calculate. So we know that two turbine. So 2 multiplied by Cp T5 minus T6. This is just to simplify. Okay, simplify the step because we already know. Okay, now we can get what we call 2 multiplied by 1.005 multiplied by 1400 minus 1007.77. Then we can get the work total at the turbine is equal to 788.38. Okay, next we can proceed to the process 6 to 7. So process 6 to 7 basically reheating at the constant pressure. So 6 to 7 reheating at the constant pressure. What we have here is Q reheat is equal to Cp T7 minus T6. So reheating is actually similar to the heat input. Okay, that's all. We know that T7 is equal to T5. So we substitute the value. Cp is equal to 1.005. T7 is equal to T5 is equal to 1400. And T6 is equal to 1007.77 as we calculate earlier. So now we can determine what we call the value of Q reheat, which is equal to 394.19 kilojoule per kilogram Kelvin. So this is how we calculate the process one by one, step by step. Basically, the process is just repeating. So there is no excuse for you to understand this problem. Okay, based on that, we can now calculate the thermal efficiency of the cycle. We know that the thermal efficiency of the cycle is actually work net divided by Q in, whereas work net is equal to work turbine total from both turbine minus work compressor total from both compressor divided by now our Q in. So basically this is Q in total. So you have to put total here. So now we have two input of the heat. The first one, it is from the Q in itself, and the second one is for the reheat. If you have 7 reheat, you have to add one by one until it's complete. So now we substitute the value. Work total from the turbine is 788.38. Work that consumed by the compressor, both compressor is equal to 234.68, and then Q in is equal to 988.16, and the Q reheat basically is equal to 394.19. So this, when we calculate, we get the thermal efficiency as 0.4005, or when we present it in terms of what we call efficiency, we can say it is actually approximately about 40%. So this is how we calculate what we call the Brayton cycle with intercooling, reheating, and regeneration. And finally, we can calculate what we call the net power developed by the system. Okay, the net power developed by the system in the unit of kilowatt. So what we can do here is basically we know that the power output from the system is equal to mass flow rate multiplied by work net. Okay, work net is equal to work total from the compressor turbine minus work compressor total. So we can substitute the value here. So mass flow rate of the cycle, they give it us 6 kilogram per second, and then work total for the turbine is 788.38. Work consumed by the compressor is 234.68. So I would like to draw your attention for the unit. So if you see the unit, so mass flow rate is kilogram per second, as you can see. So this is the unit kilogram per second. Okay, and then the unit of the work net or work compressor or work turbine is kilojoule per kilogram. So here we can cancel out the kilogram here. So and with kilogram here. So what we have now, we have the unit of, so basically kilojoule per second. We know that kilojoule per second is basically kilowatt. So the answer for the net power developed for this question is basically, so the work net is equal, the power output from the system is equal to 3322.2 kilowatt. So this is how you manipulate the system. Okay, if you compare the sample problem of the Brayton cycle from sample problem 1, sample problem 2 until sample problem 4, so and you compare with the sample problem in chapter 5, which is Otto cycle and diesel cycle, basically they are just the same. They are using the S standard equation for the relationship of the isentropic process. This is the practice problem 6.4. There are two questions in this practice problem that related to the Brayton cycle with intercooling, reheating, and regeneration for the gas turbine engine. As usual, please complete this practice problem. If you have any problem regarding to this practice problem, you always can ask me through our WhatsApp group. With that, basically, we have finished the first part of this chapter 6, the gas turbine engine for the power plant based on the Brayton cycle. Thank you very much, and please stay safe wherever you are. Wassalamu.